I work full time at UCSC, so I couldn't drive Tavy to school and pick her up as often as I wanted to. But tell me, when we lived over in Live Oak, how did you get to school every day? When you went to Shoreline?
I walked.
You walked, okay. So how did you get to Harbor High when you went there? You went to the dealership across the street. Then you got on the whatever it was, 19 or something. The 10 or
sure. There were two different ones that I took at Harbor High. I'm getting my years mixed up, but Jeremy usually took me home.
He usually picked you up and took you home. And then how are you getting around these days at San Jose State, and how'd you get here today in Santa Cruz?
I mean, I live on campus.
You live on campus.
And I took the 17 Express.
Okay, so you took the 17 Express to get here to Santa Cruz. So I think it's kind of interesting that on this day, we're driving to Santa Cruz, the same day that we did the train ride. It was like they called it cyclone bomb, atmospheric river. So it was a very busy day when it comes to weather, which is fitting because, we got global warming and so forth. And if we had something like this train available, how many cars would be taken off the road? And it's electric vehicle, not using gas, so it was a really great train ride, and I'd love you to watch me and my daughter Octavia's journey going on the train ride in Santa Cruz. And this is just showing you the weather. That was pretty bad that day. It was really windy by the water, but there was a train that we waited in as we watched the palm trees kind of wave back and forth, and we got to sit in the nice warm Roaring Camp old-fashioned train while we were waiting.
So just a few things for today. First of all, we've had to alter our plan just a little bit because our original plan was to go from the boardwalk to the Capitola overlook. And probably many of you knew that. We had to change it around a bit today because of these windstorms in excess of 40 miles an hour are planned. Normally, when you have a rail system, you'd have crews out there keeping the rail line and the trees, everything in order properly on a regular basis. But because this is a demo, we didn't anticipate over 40 mile an hour winds when we did it. It just wasn't really feasible to get the whole bank of eucalyptus trees down the alley in Live Oak taken care of. So for your safety and the safety of this vehicle, just for today, we have decided to switch it up. You get a special ride kind of into the downtown and past the Pogo Nip area. But what I want all of you to keep in mind is this actual route goes from Davenport all the way to Watsonville. So that rail system, from that 32 miles, we as Santa Cruz County residents own that system. All of us. So it is a public resource, and we're looking forward to making it a publicly accessible rail system. I just want to say a big thank you to Seaside Company and the Boardwalk. They made this possible. So when you get a chance, give them a big thank you. Also, Tiggy, our folks here that brought this amazing vehicle, as well as Roaring Camp Railroads. And the Roaring Camp folks are driving the train today, so when the driver comes on through, when we stop, give them a big applause. I also want to point out that even though you don't see the folks at the crossings today, we had over 80 volunteers out at every crosswalk, every crossing to volunteer to keep the traffic safe. So thanks to all the volunteers involved. And I want to introduce to you David Pais. He's going to help us on this tour. I'm your tour guide, Lonnie Faulkner, and together we're going to provide a little story for you. I just want to point out we originally created a script for the boardwalk to Capitola, but because of the change, we're going to try to remember our things, the important things we want to bring information to you about. But please feel free to ask questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lonnie. How's everyone doing today? Yeah. I didn't hear that. How's everyone doing? Yeah. Notice how quiet this is. There's no roar of the diesel engine. Look at how beautiful it is outside. We'll talk about the environmental benefits of a rail system. How many of you have seen the movie The Lost Boys? Yeah. Remember the bridge trestle? They jumped off the bridge trestle? Well, we just left from the bridge trestle. That was the very first trail project, rail trail project. It was completed in 2019, ahead of schedule and below budget. You might recall, it was like 4 feet wide. You had to like lift your bike up to pass another person. Now it's 10 feet wide. That was the very first segment of the rail trail system to be completed. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. You'll notice we're rolling here through the beach flats area, a mixture of residential and hotel tourism and residents and the boardwalk. What is it like down here on a summer day? It's gridlock, isn't it? Get to this roundabout, you just can't get anywhere. Look at how we're rolling right through. What a great benefit this would be for us. So I want you to pay attention. As we look forward, you'll notice that this forks off in two directions. There's one stretch that goes off to the left, and there's one that goes off to the right. Since we had to reroute our ride for today, we're going to be traveling up the Big Trees Roaring Camp rail line through downtown Santa Cruz. If our plans proceed through the Regional Transportation Commission, we actually would be going to the left. That would take us along the west side of Santa Cruz and actually could go all the way up to Davenport. So those are the split in the rail line here. But you'll notice it's quiet, it's comfortable, and it's zero emissions. So what we want to do is hand the mic over to Brad Reed. He's the president of Tiggy, and he's going to talk about this rail car, this tram is what it's actually called. Brad?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out today and riding on the rail, and we're very happy to have brought you a TIGM MRV3 tram to ride on today. A little bit about TIGM. We are a California company located in Chatsworth, California. And this tram that you're riding in was designed and built in California about 4 hours from here. TIGM's mission is to reduce the cost of electrified railway so that most cities in the United States can afford to bring back the great electric railway systems that we lost after the World War II in the 1950s and 60s. The way we do that is by providing self-powered trams. The tram we're riding on right now is all electric, but you'll notice that we don't have any overhead wires and we don't have any third rail. There's also no charging along the wayside. What this does for the project is it removes approximately $5 million per mile from the CapEx, the capital expense of infrastructure to run street railway. It also saves about $600,000 per year in maintenance of way or maintenance of overhead off-board electrification systems. So what we do is we provide trams that can travel all day long without the need for off-board electrification. This tram you're riding in is called a battery-dominant hydrogen electric vehicle. And how the power is stored, we have a battery in the front of the car, a battery in the back of the car, and above me, and above the ceiling here, is a hydrogen fuel cell above the ceiling. That hydrogen fuel cell takes bottled pure hydrogen and atmospheric oxygen, combines them in a chemical process. It is not a combustion process, and there is no emissions produced in that chemical process. The hydrogen fuel cell produces electricity while we operate, and that is fed into the battery system through the battery charger. So essentially, this car charges its own batteries while it's in passenger service. This assures that we can operate 20 hours per day without having to seek any off-board power. Now, when the energy to charge the batteries and to create the hydrogen comes from a renewable energy source such as solar or wind, this system is then called a carbon-neutral public transportation system, and this is the goal of all TIGM projects. Now, there are several things about this particular operation that are very notable. First of all, it provides an opportunity for all you folks in Santa Cruz to enjoy your own rail system that you own in a completely emission-free tram. A second very interesting aspect of this operation, it is approved by the FRA and the CPUC, the two railway authorities in this area, and it is providing the very first public operation of a hydrogen electric tram in North America. So I hope you're all enjoying it today. Thank you very much for attending, and any questions you have, please seek me out.
Thank you so much, Brad. We are so fortunate to be able to have Brad, the president of TIGM, here, and this amazing vehicle that it really is a visionary project that they've worked on and succeeded to bring to our community. So we're really grateful for that. I wanted to point out that these vehicles can actually be configured in different ways depending on what we as the community need and want. So for example, this cart can be configured in such a way that it can carry 100 passengers, up to 100 passengers. In addition, we can also have it configured to carry bicycles inside, but also we can have bicycles that can be mounted on the outside. So there's a lot of possibilities, carrying up to 16 bicycles possible. Unless you want an all bicycle cart, you could do that as well. If we want one dedicated to bicycles, we could do that. We can also have surfboard mounts for our surfers, because we know we're a big surfing community. So there's all sorts of possibilities. Now, I'll speak a little bit later about the equity piece, but we actually can mount in for spots that disabled and wheelchair folks can mount in here as well, very easy. And as you notice, the onboard, it was really level, right? You just walk right on. So it's very different than a lot of our buses. It is very easy for our wheelchair-bound folks to get on and off this vehicle. We've had several come on board during this demonstration. They have just loved that easy onboard system. I want to point out something that's going to be brought up. Oh, the other thing is